Well, it was a defensive game all over. I don't know whether it was. You're talking about backline players and machining. That were the good players. Well, I would say it was a defensive game right across the board. When you've got 40, let's say 39 shots on goal, 102 entrances. It's my book. That's probably less than 50% scoring ratio by both sides collectively. I'm talking about, and it was a finals like pressure, which is terrific, really. And I think that's the sort of football that we know St Kilda play, and we can play fairly good defensive football ourselves. So it was both sides played more to their defensive capabilities than their offensive capabilities.
Good. Then you've had games that obviously haven't been all that close, but to play one and know that you've still got that ability to play a very defensive game.
I think what we've sadly underestimated is 2 6-day breaks, with one of them as a travelling and a wet surface. Our player group were, I believe, pretty leg weary through the game, and it was very apparent towards I'll say 2/3 way through each quarter. 2 6-day breaks, which is inclusive of a travelling day on a wet surface, really took the sting out of our play group. I thought we battled for those periods, and I'll stand corrected here, but I reckon that we allowed the opposition to score later in the quarter than we did in the early part of the quarter. I know they scored their first goal in the first quarter early, and perhaps they did that I can't remember, but anyway. I thought it was a good effort under the circumstances. A couple of blokes were pretty sore, cramping up, and to get through, I thought that the boys played pretty good football against a very, very good opposition.
So you content yourself with that last quarter on that basis as well, the leg weariness. You've owned sort of last quarters during the year, but they kept coming out.
Well, it's not an excuse. It's an observation. It's a total observation, and in many respects, it's probably a fact that when you have those sorts of breaks, no one can predict the weather. But you know, those that sadly underestimated the effort required to beat Port last week in those conditions on a continual basis through 4 quarters hasn't played the game. And that did take a substantial effort, and to come off that wet track and then to play on clearly the hardest track in the competition. When I say hardest, it's clearly legal, but it's a quick track. The grass is not long. There's not a lot of give, and I thought the boys showed that difference. It's like training on boards at the football club and going out in the ground. We don't like it because people end up with shins and ankles and soreness. So it takes its toll. So more importantly, I thought the boys pushed through that, and I think we held a 5-goal lead at one stage in the last quarter, and they kicked the last couple of goals or whatever it was.
Given the last month that you have had, did you have any concerns at all leading up to the game that they might not necessarily be switched on?
Switched on for every game.
Ready for maybe the physicality, intensity.
Absolutely, we played St Kilda enough to know what we're going to get. I know the boys they were up for the game, and they were looking forward to the game, and they knew what they were going to get. We don't get caught up in the early part of their campaign, but they've just got better and better, and the boys have watched that, and statistical information supplied to them during the week with footage backed up the way the Saints have been going over the last couple of months. So we knew we were in for a hell of a fight, make no mistake.
Therefore, is that the sort of game that the players and yourself really crave?
Well, it's for some of the young players, some of the newer players in the side, and I'll throw in Andrew Cracker into that as well. He's been out of the system for so long. Those games on this ground against that opposition is invaluable, really.
Concerned about Sherry Wellington? I think he went off with the groin.
No, he didn't go off the groin. He
Or
went,
with sore leg anyway, what was the precise nature of the issue?
well, at this stage, we're thinking that he got a nice knee right on the hip. So we'll assess that as the game goes on, as the week goes on. But we're pretty confident that that's all it is.
You obviously restricted in what you can say. I think. What was your first impression when you saw Chris or Shepherd?
Exactly what you just said, Shepherd.
You can see.
How Leon Davis has been fantastic all year down back, but 36 possessions tonight, he just continues to raise.
Well, he's back and forward today, and a little bit on the wing. So he's maturing as a player that has the capability of. I reckon we needed a lift there at one stage. He just his sheer power was able to generate a goal. I can't remember who kicked it. It might have been Alex Fasolo, but I'm not too sure whether it was him. But whatever it was just real power, and he's just built his confidence up. And we know he can play him at both ends, and we know he's a dangerous player at both ends. So it's a fantastic story in many respects. I think that we probably underestimate what it's like to play predominantly as a forward come midfielder all your life, and I mean all your life, and then find yourself in a backline position. So great story, and he's going very nicely.
Symbolically, is that a big performance for him tonight, given his first grand final last year, or do people read too much into that sort of stuff?
Exactly, you probably read too much into it.
Your use of the captain tonight, I think you threw it forward again. I know you've done that a couple of times. Was that a thought of Chris Dawson wanting another marking target?
Well, we certainly needed another marking target, and we thought that Fisher may go to him, may not go to him. I'm not too sure. No, he was there as another target. We toyed with the idea. At one stage, you saw Ben Reid go up there. We could have put Chris Tarrant up there, but he was going pretty well on Nick Rewalt. So there was no real need to swap that around. But Dawes will be. He might play reserves next week. We've still got another couple of games in reserves. We'll weigh that up. I'm pretty sure he's going to play, just a matter of where we play. Early indications from me would be that he goes back and gets some touch, and he's still got a run of 3 to go, I think. Is it 3 to go? I think it is 3 to go. It's the same with Tuvey. Alan Tuvey's pretty close to playing. There's a couple of young kids in the seconds who perhaps Buckley's a bit stiff to be out of the side. I think Sinclair was certainly stiff to be out of the side last week. We did that for Alan Didak, and Alan didn't disappoint again tonight. He's now should be ready to start to play full four-quarter football. And there's a couple of players that were a bit disappointing tonight, so perhaps they might, it might be their turn to have a bit of a breather or go back, and we invite other players to come up.
Mick, you mentioned Ben Reid on Nick Rewalt tonight and changing him around. You must be thrilled with his confidence in taking a player like Rewalt on one-on-one in his mark.
Well, Chris Tarrant would have shared that duty. Yeah. Well, Ben's been terrific for over 2 years. He come to us as a forward and just didn't quite cut it at the time. He dropped a bit of confidence. We went back and he played almost a full year. In fact, I think he probably played a full year in the reserves as a key back and gained a massive amount of confidence out of that 1 year. We were tempted time and time again to bring him up, but as it turned out, I think our backline was pretty well structured at the time. And he found himself coming in pretty quickly into the side and staying in the side. So he's been another one that's just... It might be the old thing which we've seen 100 years of football, that you recruit a forward and they become a very good back. And that's just another... we know, you can go through them, there's hundreds of players who are very, very good backline players that started their careers as forwards. Yep.
Anyone else?
All the best.
Guys.